We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on Achane, Miami Dolphins rookie running back, who is definitely the biggest bright spot in this Bills loss for the Dolphins team. And while the loss is disappointing, you got to look at it in a bigger context. They're still 3-1 after playing 3 out of the 4 on the road, and they're playing against the Bills team in Buffalo. Very, very tough opponent, one of the best teams in the league in their home stadium, which is very difficult. You know, those things don't always go your way. It's a one game. Anyone can win in the NFL. No reason to overreact yet. I definitely have my concerns, specifically when it comes to the defense. You'll see that later in the week for sure. I'll just be posting probably all position groups. And then the offense played a bad game for their standards, but I'm not worried about them for the future games. They'll be fine. But Achane, the huge standout. His explosive big play ability is so impressive in this offense. Like, I wanted to see it again. So after that first game versus the Broncos where he, put up 200 yards, 4 touchdowns, I was a little bit like, hey, was that just the defense being awful? Because there were some huge holes to work with. But in this game, he showed it again against one of the best defenses in the NFL. He's making people miss in tight spaces. He's breaking tackles. He's doing it all out in space. You can see Dolphins run some crack toss again. They do this a lot with Achane, He might have even earned that starting spot. I know Mostert played really bad, but I'm not too worried about him in the future. Like, those games happen. He's played really good through the first 3. Just got to see, but Achane might be, the feature guy now, which I definitely want to see. Sees the overflow, cuts up. His transitions up downfield, or to get upfield, are so nice. Look at how clean his footwork are. It's so smooth. Just boom, get upfield, that burst. This guy has no chance to get him. That's super special. Feel him there, pick up your legs, run through that tackle, and then burst through here. Look how he bends this slightly to the inside to get this guy to open up his hips. And then he bursts through again, run through some more arm tackles, picks up his feet. He was the biggest problem for this defense in this one. And you can just see the burst in speed. He's just a combination of so many great traits and just fits in perfectly into this offense. And I'll break down the rest of this offense later, probably later today, that you'll see what went wrong. There was just definitely a lot of pressure on Tua. Receivers weren't as open, and it wasn't his best game either, but I'm not worried. If that's their bad game, that's fine with me, because other teams' offensive bad games are putting up no touchdowns at all, and they were moving the ball pretty well. They just struggled to finish on some drives. But yeah, Achane looking amazing. You can see it from this angle, how he sets this up. His feet are so good. He's moving so quickly. He just gives quick steps, and he just no wasted movement. It's so fluid how he's able to just stick his foot in the ground, get back on his path, get skinny through these 2 defenders. Look how he gets skinny. You can see him wrap up right here. His 2 arms, get 2 arms on the ball, skinny through them, break over those tackles, pick up your feet. That's just natural instincts down the field. He's going to be really, really special for this Miami Dolphins offense. Now we're going to go back in order. First drive, this was, I believe, his first touch, just a little jet sweep, pop pass right to him. Just getting him involved in many different ways. They still like to use the creativity. I think that was McDaniel's best play calling in this game, because I think they got out-schemed offensively, as you'll see later in a different video. But getting Achane, how we got him involved, it was still very effective. Slow play this, get him the ball out there, leave this end unblocked just enough, and he's frozen just enough right there, and Achane has too much speed to get to the edge. Nothing too crazy after that. He had some better plays with the balls in his hand, but just nice to see him getting involved in so many variety of different ways. The creativity that he's used within this offense is really fun to watch each week to week. And for Achane, it's not just always, tosses, jet sweeps. He's been able to run between the tackles on some split zone, outside zone type stuff. And he's been breaking tackles or making guys miss within the box like this, which is the biggest thing for me. Because I know he's going to be great out in space. He's going to be this big weapon for this offense. But to see him running consistently between the tackles and making these guys miss, Dolphins outside zone up here, flowing with the offensive line, split zone with the H right there on the backside. And you see how Achane makes this angle. He runs more of a mid zone just based on his angle right here. He's already getting this cutback. He's feeling this flow, seeing this open up, presses up into this block right here. 99 is able to get into the backfield, and he's able to, change up his angle just nicely, process this, get upfield, makes this guy miss with that little hip shift right there in the hole, runs through the tackle, and then gets downhill. Nice to see him being physical within the box to get, a nice 3-yard touchdown. I feel like he's been pretty solid in these short yardage situations so far, which people, will be worried about because the Dolphins don't have the biggest running backs on the team, but he's playing very tough with contact balance, play strength, which I think is a huge part of his success so far through these first 2 real games that he's played. Another jet sweep action this time, from under center. Hand him the ball. They leave the defensive end unblocked, and I just don't think they're understanding how fast Achane is, and they don't set the edge. Watch this from this angle one more time, but look how tight he is. Like, he's basically head up on the tight end. Sometimes the edge will be to the outside. It's a pretty nice play call to get this set up here, and he just leaves him unblocked, goes out to the edge here, and Achane just has to adjust his angle by getting slightly, backwards, take a little more of an angle to get away from this guy, but he's just so fast to get around, and I love his transitions. He's, working at this way at like a 45-degree angle right now, and he wants to get upfield. This is blocking is all set up nicely, everyone downfield, and he just gets down there, and you can see also some of the power and balance when he breaks the tackle. He's already in the end zone, but it's still nice to see. And this downhill transition, good blocking by everyone right there. Really good job by Waddle. Want to give Waddle a lot of credit for his blocking out in space. Durham Smythe, you can see it all better from the other angle, but just look at basically watching these 3 guys out here in space. Armstead does a good job. Waddle finishing his block. Durham Smythe. Everyone deserves some credit on those big plays. And then you can just see, even though this, like him breaking these tackles, splitting these 2 guys doesn't matter because he would have scored either way. That just shows that he has that balance and play strength. Like, if that happened at a different part of the field, like, he can break tackles when guys don't wrap up for sure. And just another way the offense can use him to stretch the teams horizontally. Definitely, I think, the Bills, out-scheme the Dolphins, but this is where, like, the only part I feel like they really, really struggled with was stopping Achane on these types of plays. Achane picking up some nice yards here on this screen. They motion Mostert out wide. Set this up. I actually kind of like the design of this. I like how, I don't love calling a bunch of screens. I just wasn't a huge fan. I understand why he was doing in this game. Bills were getting pressure quickly. Eichenberg was struggling a lot. I think he was one of the biggest downsides in this game. This is pretty nice here from Achane. I don't know if he should have cut this back like this. I don't know if I love the decision for this. He probably should have just got upfield, tried to hit through here, but he ends up picking up some good yards, bouncing this back inside between the 2 of them, and then getting upfield. Pretty nice. He's super slippery out in space, very difficult. I feel like he's just such a smooth mover. Like, that's a lot of like people that end up being really effective out in space. Looks like they're jogging sometimes because they're so smooth and efficient with their hips. It's hard to get a clean shot on these guys, and he's much better laterally than people give him credit for. The ability to change direction, and then out of this contact, look at him make this lateral cut, another lateral cut, run through the contact of the defensive tackle, and then get back downhill. That ability to flip his hips like this to get straight downhill and then run through, pick up a few extra yards, picking up 5 yards there on a 2nd and 7 situation where he could have easily gained nothing. That's a huge gain in the NFL if you can make those types of plays. I do like seeing him involved in the receiving game. I do want to see more work like down the field on like actual routes, but just screens, some dump like check downs down to the flat. Nice to see him being involved. He is catching the ball, which is always a nice sign for some young runners. Just getting out in space, picking up a nice 7 yards on 2nd and 10, fighting for some extra yards there. Could have, maybe done more out in space. It's not like a super impressive play, but it's still nice to see him making these types of plays. Like, first guy could have made contact with him at about the 28, and he's still able to, drag, get up to about the 31, 32 right there, almost basically. Still impressive from a physical standpoint to drag, not going down super easily on contact, because sometimes these types of smaller backs will go down, get tripped up pretty nicely. But Achane, so that's the first time I think I made that mistake in this video, but he will fight for those extra yardage for a smaller back. Another little chunk play here for Achane, working on some outside zone with like a lead H this time, not some like sift or split zone. Almost works this as like a puller out in here with Julian Hill, getting him out into space. Good job reach blocking here by Kendall Lamb, getting to the outside. And you get Achane the ability to reach like this. I actually really like this setup here because they have Smythe to this side, can help get a hand there to help Kendall Lamb get the reach block. He can climb to the 2nd level, and then Hill becomes like your kick out block on the edge, and it creates this natural lane. Very good schematic setup on a lot of Achane's runs. That's what I really liked to see from this. These are things that will definitely lead to future success if this is how they're setting up these runs. Like, the Bills are a very, very good defense, and he just gets Achane lanes to work with, pick up 15 yards, and then drop his shoulders. Love to see the finish here. Maybe, you want to see him cut back this to the inside, make some people miss. Sometimes you just want to see him drop their shoulders into a DB and then drive forward for an extra 3 to 4 yards. Definitely a nice, very nice play there from Devon Achane. Last play that I'm going to break down for Devon Achane. This is the play directly after that 55-yard run, the first play that I showed. Just getting him involved up the middle. Like to see him working on some, inside zone type stuff with some split zone out of the backfield. The way they're blocking it up front, this looks like it could be like a mid-zone type of play. He's just setting this up, reading the blocks. You want to read the interior of this. Sees 7 coming unblocked, makes him miss in space. This is a very good anticipation. A lot of guys might try to cut this back this way because this is where, there's a lot of chaos going on right here. Hit this cutback lane. Instead, he feels 7 beat his block to the inside, so he makes this cut out in space, makes him miss, and then gets upfield. That's just a super great play. Things don't always get blocked up perfectly. These are the types of things that you really want to see, because just based on all this chaos, 99 has this outside leverage, gets thrown to the ground, but the 7 sort of refills into that gap, and he's able to just recognize it. He recognized it probably pretty late, but the ability to react and make him miss like this in such a tight confinement, being able to create your own yards like that, and then getting back up field burst, trying to make some other guys miss, fight through some contact. That's a really, really high-level play to pick up 8 yards there. That's the stuff that I really want to see. I already know he's going to be that big playmaker out in space when he gets some like design touches on those tosses, sweeps, things like that. But just on some basic, whether it's outside zone, inside zone, even on some gap scheme runs, creating when things don't always get blocked up perfectly, that's a sign that you could be a really good running back. So I have a lot of faith that he could be really, really special. Biggest bright spot from this game. Overall, a disappointing game, but I'm not going to be too down unless this becomes like a consistent thing. These types of things happen, man. Like every team, the best teams, like I just saw Zach Wilson outperform Patrick Mahomes last night. That's how I know anything can happen in the NFL. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.